Dunkin' is putting a whole new spin on pumpkin at Dunkin' with our new Pumpkin Cream Cold Brew. Smooth, bold cold brew topped with velvety pumpkin cream cold foam made with cinnamon and nutmeg spices. And there's more pumpkin for you to love, like the delicious fall classic, our Pumpkin Spice Signature Latte. Rich espresso topped with whipped cream, caramel drizzle, and cinnamon sugar. That's how we pumpkin at Dunkin'. Sip into the fall season with the $3 medium Pumpkin Cream Cold Brew or Pumpkin Spice Signature Latte. America runs on Dunkin'. Participation may vary. Limited time offer. Exclusions apply. Valid on Pumpkin Spice Signature Latte only and all cold foam cold brew.
Hi, this is Marcus from the pod, and if you head over to modernartisrubbish.com, you can see all the images that we're talking about in the show. Modern art is rubbish. Isms. Juxtapose. Didactic. Modern is rubbish. Modern is rubbish podcast. Okay. Hello, it's episode number 33, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to episode number 33 of Modern Art is Rubbish podcast. That wasn't me, that was a robot, Marcus.
Modern art is rubbish!
Yeah, that's better. Why did I do my robot voice? I'm so tired.
Can I do the episode number as well? Episode number 33!
Now spell colour, C-O-L-O-R. We used to have a thing when I was a kid called Speak and Spell, and it used to spell colour without the U.
Like American spelling.
Yeah. And I'm still trying to work out with maths and math. Because I probably think that math is actually more logical, but maths just sounds so right because it's what we grew up with.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's one where the Queen's English has maybe got it wrong.
Yeah, it sounds right, but I think math actually is a more logical thing to call it. Anyway, I totally digress because that's got nothing to do with what we're talking about today. We went to as we did last year, the Brighton University Degree art show. We obviously go there because we are, if you don't know, we live in the seaside city.
Isms!
We weren't going to do a Brighton Degree show special because last year it was a bit disappointing.
Was it?
Yeah.
Were you disappointed?
I felt disappointed in some ways by the response.
The response to your own response to the show or response to the podcast?
Yeah, I shouldn't be talking negatively, should I? Maybe.
Well, it's nice to talk and for people to listen. It's like therapy, this podcast, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not going to share my stresses about last year's podcast with you all. I'm sorry about that, but thank you. I mean, if you do want to charge for listening, I understand, but...
Math!
Yeah, there was a lot of good works. We spent about 5-6 hours there, didn't we?
Yeah, it was a long time. I was quite tired at the end.
Yeah,
we did stop for coffees.
Yeah, it did stop for coffees. I actually went to it 3 times. The first artwork we went to see was actually done by a group of 5 artists. I suppose it was just a cooperative space, really. And just to describe it, I think it looked like a vegan pop-up cafe.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a vegan pop-up cafe.
I mean, it was a room in the university and it had sofas and it had a collection of all the artist books. And it had like a sort of like a kitchen area and it had like benches and seating.
And the artists themselves.
Yeah.
And I guess the vegan pop-up thing, it was kind of almost an alternative sort of lifestyle feel to it, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And they had lots of events. And this is actually for a degree show, by the way. So just so you are aware, I mean, it is an art piece. And they had a manifesto for their art piece, and it said, cooperative members have equal and democratic control over the space, resources and decisions.
So how many artists are there in the cooperative?
There was 5.
5, yeah.
Yeah, and their aim, it says here, was to create a safe space where efforts should be made to listen to marginalised voices. The collective is also committed to extending these principles to beyond the safe space they are creating. It was a space where people could come in and spend a lot of time sitting on the sofas and just chatting, and they had various artists come in, guest artists, and come in to do talks.
Great.
Yeah. So, speaking to them though, it was quite interesting because I thought, well, if there's 5 artists altogether, how do they get marked? I asked a couple of them about this, and basically they're all judged together. They all get the same mark.
So they're not doing any other pieces for their degree show. It's just the pop-up vegan cafe.
Yeah, well, not pop-up. Yeah. Stop calling it that. Stop it.
It'll be interesting to see what mark they get.
Well, what do you think, Tom? We should give it. I give it maximum. I don't know what a degree. What's the maximum?
First class.
First class,
which is a first, which you need 70%.
Oh, so it's first class. I liked it. The reason I liked it first class is because I actually went there 3 times because it was such a nice space to relax and chill out. There's a box ticking exercise that all tutors have to do to grade an art piece. This doesn't really fit into any of those boxes because, of course, the piece is about the space working, but how they actually do it is they actually mark it before it's actually completed.
So they're marking the idea rather than the work, finished work.
Well, I've got an idea
Concept,
here.
yeah.
Just to give an example right here, Tom, I've got something that I'm going to ask you to do, and then this will show how odd that is. Right, Tom, if you can read this bit of Shakespeare, the first sentence.
Okay, the whole piece.
I'm going to mark you on your performance of the whole piece.
Thou slave, thou wretch, thou coward, thou little valiant, great in villainy.
Okay, that's enough. That's enough. I'm going to mark you on your performance of the whole piece.
Oh, I was just getting into it.
Yeah, well, there you go. So, right. So, Tom, that is how this piece got marked. Saying that's what's happened is so the markers just interrupted them. Yeah.
It was like an interruption exercise by the university.
So the piece doesn't actually get finished. The piece isn't finished before they mark it.
Yeah, so if you were watching a Shakespeare play and it was like it ended after 10 minutes and then everyone was ushered out the theatre.
And then they mark the whole play.
Then they oh, right, yeah.
It's that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very interesting space as well. Is they had like some really interesting talks and from different artists and stuff, and it was just like a really community feel. And they want to take it on the road, but apparently you have to be careful because they have to have for the piece they had to have a lot of health and safety considerations.
Absolutely, and when you take stuff on the road, there's I don't know.
Apparently they were they're about to go live with their piece, and they had to fill out loads of health and safety requirements and check and see things like for instance that there wasn't any spikes in the sofas, I suppose.
I mean, it's open to the public, isn't it? Essentially,
yeah.
We just walked into the uni and walked around the whole show.
I actually somehow maintained a copy through my contacts of the actual health and safety issues.
Okay, so I've got like an image of a general risk assessment form, and it's like
let's go into non-specifics, of course.
Oh right, yeah. So it's got boxes like what are the hazards, who might be harmed and how, what controls do you have in place, what further action is necessary to reduce the risk to low, who takes the action, and so on. So like the hazards, do you want me to read what the hazards are?
Yeah.
Okay. Electric mob being plugged in and used in the studio.
Okay, well, what would you do about your electric mob if you had a problem with that?
Electric mob is electric hob, isn't it?
Yeah, what would you do? What would you do personally?
What, to reduce the hazard?
Yeah.
Well, if you want it completely nullified, you like take the hob and you remove it from the exhibition. Health and safety, we've got to move this. I'm going to snip the plug. We don't want any children getting injured by a hot hob. Okay, so the next one down is working with cooking implements such as knives and heat.
Heat?
Yeah.
What do you mean, cooking in heat? What's this heat nonsense?
Yeah. Well, that's related to the previous one. That's just going over already covered ground on this form, isn't it?
Yeah.
But knives. Okay, we're going to take those knives. We don't want anyone injured in here. Please put them in this box here. We're going to put it in the safe in our underground vault. After that, they got food allergies among people feeding.
Yeah.
So I guess you need a bouncer like on the door, or maybe to if you want to nullify it, you get a dietitian or what do you call it, a nutritionist on the door. So when people come in, it's like, excuse me, before you come in, do you have any a family history of food allergies of any description?
God, they had to fill that in apparently like 2 hours.
I mean, it's hard to get a nutritionist at such short notice, as I'm sure most of you know.
Apparently as well. Is that you know, when you get guest speakers, you have to check that they haven't been banned from college before for speaking.
Or they have bad halitosis.
Yeah.
Well, what if the speaker had eaten peanuts just before speaking and someone had a peanut allergy at the front?
That is actually possible. Peanut allergies are quite serious, aren't they? But
yeah.
So the thing is like, what kind of speaker? Does that mean you could get like Abu Hamza turn up because he's not been banned from the college?
That was not mentioned on the form, but now they're going to get marked down for this, aren't they?
You know, just get someone thoroughly undesirable over. But if they've not been banned, I assume that's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, has Abu Hamza been banned from speaking in art?
In Brighton College? No, he hasn't.
No, I doubt he has.
He scares me with his hook, though. He's got a nasty hook, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, that's an art piece. Should we review that? Yes, the vault always gets filled up at the university shows. Okay, so we've got some Hooker's green-coloured paper, which obviously could be inhaled. 4 art books. Oh, I suppose, yes, these could be used to start files. I'll put them over there with Abu Hamza's hook. I noticed you brought a couple of artists down here. These are dangerous to the general public. Has their work been a bit too challenging? Are these artists banned? We'll lock them in here for the exhibition. Artists in the far corner over there.
Okay, this is random, but I've always wanted to talk about it. It's my favourite episode of Star Trek, right? Was have you seen the one called Eden? Basically, the original Star Trek is set in the 60s, and there's lots of really groovy sort of space hippies that want to get to Eden. And of course, the Enterprise is not going in the direction that they want. So what the space hippies do is they actually take over the ship, and how they do it is they play over the sort of the PA system of the ship. They play a groovy music that just leaves people just sort of like grooving down to the music.
Oh, this just sounds great, man.
Yeah, it's just such a good film. And there's even a scene where Mr. Spock is asked to jam on his sonic harp with the space hippies, and they do a really good jam session. It's brilliant. And yeah, I know you're wondering what's this got to do with the Brighton Degree show, but there's always in Star Trek, I just wanted to get that story in about Star Trek, but there's always in Star Trek a place where you suddenly see forms. They're normally like spiritual forms or like organic forms, and they sometimes like appear as a sort of like cloud of colours, and they suddenly appear and then they take on a human form normally. Sort of like colours that sort of shimmer, and then that is suddenly in its 60s style forms into a person.
Yeah.
And when you just notice that there's an alien in the distance, it's sort of like an organic alien, I thought if it was real, I thought these paintings that we saw by an artist called Mary McAleese is how I would imagine it would be. Now, to describe her paintings, and they're extremely large, pale paintings.
Was she the one who based them on some work her brother had done?
Organic, yeah. So at first glance, they're very pale and almost white. you can see barely perceptible colours that sort of like are undulating it, but there's almost like a kind of spiritual, the start of an organic form starting to manifest itself before you, but on the canvas. That's how I describe them.
Wow, yeah.
That's really trippy. But also the sad thing is that, well, it's not sad. You have to actually stand in front of the paintings to understand them, because they do not translate at all onto photographs.
Yeah, so we were quite taken aback when we were both quite excited by them, weren't we? Yeah. Oh, we were definitely fans of this, weren't we?
Yes. And when you look at them, there's nothing for your eyes to lock onto, but because the actual canvases, they're constantly in flux. So it's like looking at something that's white, that's constantly moving. It's very, very interesting.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay, so sticking with the space theme.
The final exhibition.
So there was this big sort of like, it was about 5 foot high, wiry, we went in sculpture room, and there was like a 5 foot high, wiry sculpture. And when I saw it, I said to Tom, I said, look, it's almost like it's crushing space, but like not just space, but like space-time. And it reminded me of those models. I don't know if you've ever seen the models of Einstein when they show about the explaining Einstein's theories on gravity and how, gravity in space and how gravity warps time. So anyway, I thought, oh, that's good. So I thought, oh, this looks a bit like sort of like a crazy crushed Einstein piece, And I spoke to the artist, who is Grace Attrell, and I explained that, and I said, well, it's like that. And she said, yeah, this is what I was thinking. And I went, well done. Like, I felt like I was a tutor going, well done. You have exactly achieved what you set out to do.
Oh, you said, well done, and then an apple fell on your head. Ouch!
I also thought it was really nice to see something that wasn't trying too hard. And I like that. I thought it was quite refreshing. It was actually just proper sculpture.
Nice, yeah.
Well done!
Sculptures!
I was reading up about the Seven Sisters. Do you know about the Seven Sisters? I know, they're obviously there's a sort of a section of cliffs, isn't there? What's this section of cliffs? An area near Brighton called the Seven Sisters?
A school of cliffs.
School of cliffs. I have no idea what the collective name for cliffs is. Cliffs. So, Seven Sisters, right? It is an area in Brighton, but also I was reading up the Seven Sisters that the Olympian gods all did the do with. Apparently, they got it on, and they had lots of kids.
So that's where the name comes from, then.
Yeah, Seven Sisters. They were 7 heavenly sisters.
Because these are like 7 big white cliffs, not far outside of the city, aren't they?
Yes. But Zeus apparently got together with one of them and had Hermes. Another one, there was one called Electra, and Zeus had a couple of kids with her.
They went on an adventure.
Sisyphus got married to one, and he had a few kids. Sisyphus, the guy who was condemned to push the stone up the hill.
What, did he give everyone else Sisyphus as well?
The first artist from the 3D that I just want to talk about is a guy called Joe Bowman. And basically his project was exploring the sort of hidden qualities of Brighton, his local landscape. And he sort of like had a personal and investigative work, so he can look beyond the famous iconic landmark and give value to the often overlooked parts of this city, like charity shops, graffiti, So what he's done is he's actually created, in homage to the local cliffs, which are called the Seven Sisters, he's actually created ceramic works, Seven Sisters,
Yeah, so they don't look anything like cliffs. This is more the Heavenly Sisters he's created.
Well, no. But I think he's created sisters. He's created sisters from the cliffs, inspired by the cliffs.
Okay,
the cliffs are called Seven Sisters, so he's created Seven Sisters. I don't think they look heavenly. I think they look more Brightonian sisters.
I think they look like jelly babies. Really super cool jelly babies.
Jelly babies, they're great.
Well, they're quite small in the image, and in real life, what are they, about
a foot?
1 foot? Yeah,
they're not.
1 foot's like only 12 inches, like that.
Yeah. I think they're about that size. They're not huge, but
they're quite big for jelly babies.
I like the fact that he's used these colours which I recognise them from Brighton. They're sort of like blue and pinks, and there's one that's like a sort of like a green, which looks a bit like a lot of the lampposts. You know, the fact that they need painting. A lot of our lampposts are actually turquoisey green around here. The colours that I kind of recognise from being around here.
Right, yeah, so what were they made out of?
Ceramics. The ceramics. Yeah.
Cool.
So that's the Seven Sisters. 7 deadly sisters. I don't know if they're 7 deadly sisters. I just said that because of sins.
Yeah. Well, Heavenly Sisters.
Heavenly sisters, yeah. I think they're Brightonian sisters, though. I think he's brought them very much down to her. I don't think if you slept with any of those, you would have any gods.
Well, you might get syphilis.
Sisyphus.
Sisyphus. Or you might get, I don't know, you might get delivered to Hermes.
Oh, no. Someone I do want to mention as well is someone called Anna Isabel Shearday. Apologies if I pronounced your name incorrectly. Her work is actually about taking spaces like back streets or spaces a bit run down and putting sculptures and installations in them, which I found quite interesting.
Is this the ones on the pathways and the little...
Yes.
Yes, I can remember looking at those. And the steps. So you like in the city, you get little walkways where you can...
Yeah.
Little shortcuts.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot in Brighton. There's quite a few places like that, isn't there?
And her idea was to take these spaces and to put artworks in them so that they become sort of like new meeting spaces rather than places where, I don't know where
you just walk quickly because it smells of urine.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, her work I think is ongoing, and she does some really, really interesting, nice sketches. She's definitely someone who does a lot of drawing as well. But I think it's a really interesting from the conceptual point of view, and the work's really, really nice. You know, that she sort of like today, sort of like something that looks like multiple coloured leaves, inspired by the colours of the graffiti.
Yeah,
sort of like forming an archway, a sort of blooming archway. I don't know how else to describe.
So it's like bringing the graffiti to life.
Yes, yeah. So I really like that, and I think it's something that when I actually spoke with her, I actually thought it's something that it can develop well beyond just degree.
Yeah, town planning.
Yeah. Well, we need it. Yeah, we do. Right, so another artist that we looked at, Izzy Hoffman, right? What I like about it is just someone who's making jewellery. But like when have you ever got given any family heirlooms?
No, I don't think so. Well, I've been given stuff by my family. Like I've got a pot. It's like a blue cooking pot.
Yeah.
That there's pictures of it in the early 70s. My mum and dad had it when they were first married. It's in my kitchen now. So that was like nearly 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Does that count as an heirloom?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I got a family heirloom. I remember my nan took me before. She said, I'm not going to be here, so you won't. I want you to have this now.
Or was it a sieve?
No, it wasn't. It was Harry Belafonte's greatest hits.
What, vinyl?
Yeah, it was. It's fantastic. It's got This Is My Island in the Sun. Coconut Woman is calling out. Every day you can hear her shout. That was one of the lines in his song. Yeah, and I love Harry Belafonte to this day. I still think his music's good. It's full of joy.
Well, it's full of your nan as well, by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
Belafontisms.
Now, why am I talking about Harry Belafonte? Why? I totally forgot why I was talking about Harry Belafonte.
Family heirlooms.
Your family heirlooms. Right. There's an artist. She made jewellery for her final piece, and her name's Izzy Hoffman. She made like white, pale, sort of silvery looking, sort of, but not shiny, silvery looking flowers. And she also made like sort of rock kind of bits of metal. Basically, all her pieces looked like they already had history. So she created new works and they looked like they already were heirlooms and they already had a history behind them.
Oh, so what was she buying? Old bits of metals, old bits of silver and bending them into new things?
Well, no, I don't know how her process works, but she actually made... let's just find the photos. Yes. When I talked to her, she talked about her history, her family histories, and said that this represents the history of this. And she would have poems written by other people that might go with the jewellery. But had she not said that, somehow those pieces look like they already had history. I can't describe it anywhere else. She managed to create pieces that looked like they were old. Someone had said, brought them on Antiques Roadshow and said, I've had this in the family for years and there's a story behind it. I would have thought, oh yeah, they were like that. Somehow she'd put history into her pieces, even though they're brand new.
So, shall we talk to Izzy? Yeah. See if she'll lend us a bit, and let's go on the Antiques Roadshow.
How long's it been in the family? We've done Izzy, we've done Mary, we haven't done Brie as well. We've got to do Brie as well. Let's do Brie now.
No, I'm vegan now.
Yeah. So that was our sound piece. I hope you. Yeah, should we do a sound piece?
All right, let's do a sound piece.
Let's do a sound piece, yeah, because we went and listened to a sound piece, so we went and listened to a sound piece. So should we do one first before we talk about this one?
Okay, go on then.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Quiet, Toby. Enough. Quiet, Toby. Enough. Quiet, Toby.
That piece that we just recorded there, that's a bit less relaxing than the one than we actually saw at the show. Yeah.
Toby is such a bad boy. Such a bad boy.
But, so...
It's a multi-sensory piece.
It's a multi-sensory piece. In fact...
Shush, Toby!
So, here's a clip I actually recorded of the piece by Brie Leeds. So, do you want to have a listen to that, Tom?
Yeah.
It's more relaxing than ours, I can tell you.
No, Toby! Relax, Toby!
Just to describe the piece, it's actually by Brie Leeds, and you walk into a darkened room and 4 speakers are in either corner. The music you just heard, that's playing. And at one end of the room, there's sort of like light fabric, and on it is beamed evolving artworks. And apparently the piece was all about art therapy. I got quite buzzed by it. How did you feel?
soon as I went in there, I could see the therapy. You could sense the therapeutic thing, and the artist was sitting there, wasn't she?
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, was this created from doing care work?"
Yeah.
And she was like, "No." But yeah, no.
But she did say it was for therapy, didn't
But
you?
yeah, it was.
Did
for
you say,
therapy.
well done? That's exactly what I thought.
I said, enough! Quiet! We're trying to relax in here. So I guess in the health and safety form for that one, if people got too relaxed and died.
Another piece we saw, which was quite interesting, was basically it was a blackboard, and you stuck your head through it, and then you could draw whatever you want around it. So it's like you know, like when you go to the seafront, and you stick your head through a picture, and then you know, like you've got the body of a sailor or
a pirate.
Or a pirate. Yeah, pirate. Yeah. It was the idea of making you the viewer, part of the art piece.
So hang on, if it's like one of those things, it's very share friendly, because so people pop their head through and they get someone to take a photo.
Yeah.
It's quite social media friendly, isn't it? Those sort of pieces.
The artist is Alexandra Motiu, who's actually known as Mozart, Moatzart on her website. And her website's really interesting. It's got some really interesting collages and kind of like what look like woodblock prints. So I recommend checking out her work. But it's about the idea that writers in political situations, if they just write about it and they don't actually take part, then they're part of the problem.
All right, yeah.
So, I enjoyed putting my head through that. And
did you become part of the problem when you did?
In the spirit of confession, because at the moment in the UK, for those who don't know, we've got a lot of politicians that are in the running to become our next Prime Minister, and they all have decided to admit that they did drugs. And, lots of them are admitting that they might.
I don't think they've decided. I think there's one certain politician, everyone who knows the name of, who's putting pressure underneath, and so they've all decided to own up before this certain politician. He's got them with his elbow over their necks, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Everyone knows it, no one's saying it.
Yeah. So basically, in the spirit of confession, I'd like to admit to nicking something now on live on the podcast.
It's not live, Marcus.
Oh. Oh yeah, it's not. It's recorded before. When I was 5, we need to clear the air. When I was 5, right, I had a joint birthday party, and one of the mums said, "Oh, look, here's a present for you, and can you give the present to the other kid?" I can't even remember his name now. So I opened mine, and I realised that she bought me a propeller toy plane, like one of those metal ones. Pretty cool. I mean, I actually think it's quite cool now, but when you're 5, you don't want propeller planes to play with.
Well, you didn't.
No, you don't.
All right, yeah.
What do you want? You want a jet. You want a jet fighter if you're a child.
Do you?
Yeah, that's what I did. So anyway, I thought, this is not very good. So logically, what I did was I opened the other kid's present, and it was a jet fighter.
Bad, Toby. Very bad.
It was a jet fighter. So rather than give the kid the plane, I thought I just kept both.
Such a bad boy.
I know.
Such a bad boy.
It was the same party where I actually... It was the only time I accidentally went into the ladies' toilet.
Oh my God, Marcus. So you were 5 at this time?
Yeah, it's the same party, I remember it. And I looked on the door, and I looked up and I read gentlemen, and I thought women were gentlemen when I was a child, because of course you were 5, it was a while ago, misogyny and all that. And I thought women were gentlemen.
And men were rough men.
Yeah.
Gentlemen were rough men.
The other toilet, so there was gentlemen and there was laddies.
Laddies. Yeah, so if you
Not
think
ladies,
about it, though,
laddies.
So you did. It was an honest mistake.
Yeah.
Let's call
And
it
I
an
walked
honest mistake.
into...
You didn't inhale.
No. So that brings us to our next piece, which is, again, it's another, in the spirit of cooperation and collectiveness. It's by 3 artists, Al Kofi, Liz Crane and Tom Nicholson. Really interesting piece. They actually did two separate pieces. And the first one is you walk into a room and it looks like a museum. It looks like one of those sort of museum exhibits. And on the wall is all sort of writing. And so you walk into this sort of like a black room. It feels exactly like it would be an exhibit in a museum, with a dark and well.
There was no artist credits on the wall with it.
Yeah, they just said little quotes.
It was all references to the British Empire stealing like artworks, jewels from countries around the globe.
Yeah.
And then there was like a box, a display of
box.
them, and it was empty.
Yeah, it was a display of empty works, and
they'd all been stolen.
Yeah. So at the very end of the room, there was a sort of like a white display cabinet, and it was completely empty.
So pillaging is pillaging.
Yeah, that's pillaging.
Yeah.
And this is a sort of like a section of the writing, and it's kind of like an artist's statement, which is on the wall, and it says, "As 3 white British people, we have privileged access to a vast collections of cultural artefacts from around the world, many stolen by the British in conquest. It's because of British imperialism and its violent history of slavery, colonisation and acquisition that such rich collections exist. The British Museum uses rhetoric of global shared heritage, depoliticising debate around ownership and repatriation, and normalising Western interpretations of culture." I do feel that. I have to say, I like the British Museum. I love the actual building. But sometimes you do walk around there and you do think there's a lot of nicked stuff.
Yeah. It never occurred to me before seeing this work, but it's so true, isn't it?
They also did a piece which was about flags, and it was all the flags of the 14 British overseas territories. So when you walk into the...
so these are current overseas territories?
Yes. So when you walk into the university, you see all these flags hanging down from the sort of hanging down the stairwell.
Oh, this is in the middle of the stairwell.
In the middle of the stairwell.
And most of the flags have got Union Jacks in the corner.
Yeah, it's called Symbols of Empire. And over the last few decades, many of British overseas territories and colonies, the remnants of the vast empire, have sought and won independence. And these territories, represented by those flags, have either voted to remain under British rule or have been unable to exercise their democratic right. And one of the cases they actually mentioned is the British Indian Ocean Territory, where basically it was separated from Mauritius. The British lease it to the Americans to make way for a US military base, and that was in the 1970s. When I look at these flags, I actually found it I was quite emotional, because I know people that have been affected by this, and it's kind of like we take these places for granted, a lot of these places, and it's quite shocking. I saw a survey where they still said that a lot of people still believe it's like 40% of people think that the British Empire was overall quite a good thing.
Yeah. Well, 52 voted for Brexit, didn't they? So they didn't say much.
So, Tom, that was it. That's it for our little look at the Brighton Degree show.
Yes,
that is.
Yeah.
Any other bits that we didn't mention that you want to mention? The fashion and textiles is always really good, but it doesn't really come under our remit of our podcast.
Yeah, no, it is always interesting. Fashion, textiles.
Yeah, so it's really good. Just to remember, Facebook's getting quite popular at the moment, so please head over to our Facebook page if you want to join in. We regularly post on there. What's the Facebook address?
It's facebook.com/modern art is rubbish.
Okay, we tweet.
We tweet from the trees.
Yeah. What is our Twitter podcast? Twitter.
Twitter.com/mod art is rubbish.
I'd just like to say that I don't think all mod art is rubbish, and I spoke to a bloke on the Brighton seafront. He had a really nice Lambretta.
All right, nice. I'm a little bit scared of Paul Weller.
How are you? Well, don't be scared of Paul Weller. There's nothing to be scared of. He's a tough talker, but he's all right.
He's all right.
Okay. Okay, and also, we love to hear from you. Now, if you want to contact us, you can contact us by our Facebook page and our Twitter. But also, we have an email address, which is
info@modernartisrubbish.com.
Yeah, and the website modernartisrubbish.com. Also, the show does cost money. We do have a Patreon page where you can make donations.
It's patreon.com/modernartisrubbish.
Okay, and then it's just goodbyes. Goodbye. Do a Toby. We'll get Toby barking.
Right, say goodbye, Toby. Go on, say goodbye. No, do not mount that man's leg. Toby, no! Stop it, Toby! I'm very sorry, sir.
Hey, do you love a good story? Great. Then you got to check out the #Storytime podcast. Each episode brings you the craziest, creepiest, and cringiest stories from YouTube, TikTok, Reddit, and beyond.
My story is about the time that I was broken up with at the 9/11 memorial twice.
Look, the internet is a dumpster full of stories, and I, your host, Will McFadden, dive in headfirst, sift through the flaming trash, and bring you nothing but treasures. Listen to all 21 episodes of #Storytime now on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You might have noticed a change in your neighborhood lately. Yep, Sprint stores are now T-Mobile stores. Now that Sprint is T-Mobile, you get more coverage, value, and benefits than ever before. We've invested billions to bring our 5G from big cities to small towns across America. And great coverage is just the start. From high-speed mobile hotspot data to weekly deals and giveaways, our customers get tons of great benefits. Head to your new T-Mobile store to learn more.
Qualifying service and capable device required. Coverage not available in some areas. Some uses may require certain plan or features. See T-Mobile.com.